Today's presentation has two parts. One is the meaning of oppression. Perhaps this is one of the most important, significant part of Kitáb-i-Íqán. To be honest with you, if you have read the paragraphs, it actually describes the situation that we are in today, here and now. Those of you who have read it, Bahá'u'lláh, in fact, from 28 all the way to 30, paragraph 30, explains what does really oppression mean. And when in the Old and New Testament, especially, they said that the return of Christ shall take place when the oppression takes over the world. What does that really mean? Does oppression is economical? Is it social? Is it psychological? Or it is all the above? Bahá'u'lláh provides a simple but meaningful description of oppression. And I want you to pay attention. He starts with the simple definition of oppression, and that is when the people are experiencing hardship. And then he starts to explain what the hardship means, according to him. On paragraph 28, he says, when the people are deprived of recognition of the truth, the knowledge, and the wisdom, when the people cannot think, the people are not able to distinguish from knowledge and falsehood. And most importantly, he says oppression is the people actually are governed by the leaders who are not intelligent, the foolish leaders. Please pay attention how Bahá'u'lláh explains it, and then ask yourself whether here and now, today, 21st century, we actually are living that meaning of oppression. So he says individually, when the people are deprived of the fruits of science, as far as sedre ilm, they are deprived of wisdom. And then he says another meaning of oppression is when the leaders of the world who governs these people are foolish. And he says another meaning of oppression is when the knowledge and certitude actually gives its place to superstition. Please pay attention to this, because these are very, very important. He says, look at today. Please pay attention. The book is written 1862, but you look at it as it is written May 13, 2020. He says, look at today, that every group, in fact, is governed by a foolish leader. You can see it. And he says, even for those who are believers, you see nothing but worshippers of names, and they are deprived of the ultimate purpose. He says, to the extent that carnal desire, in fact, has caused the lamps of knowledge and certitudes to be dampened in the heart of people. He says, although the gates of knowledge are open, although the revelations have manifested, but however, the people are not aware of it. He, therefore, looks at oppression. Foremost meaning of oppression is when the people become careless. The people do not think on their own. The people do not know where to turn to find the guidance. And oppression for him also is when the people are lost, therefore the leaders will take advantage of them. And he considers that to be one of the greatest oppression. He considers oppression, therefore, to mean spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and all the other realms to follow. Make sense so far? For those of you who have read it, rather than looking at it as a religious context, give it a universal context. That I individually might be oppressed, society might be oppressed, and globally the oppression may be governing us. I think these 4 paragraphs, if you read it over and over, you see that at this time that we are afflicted with coronavirus, you see that that is only one of the symptoms of oppression. So Baha'u'lláh wants to raise the consciousness of people to say that actually greater than that virus is when you are not awakened. For Baha'u'lláh, in these programs, awakening is one way to defeat oppression. I want to stop. I want to go step by step and see if you have read it, you understand the different dimensions of oppressions, and if you have any comments to make before we continue on.
Any questions or comments? Please unmute yourself and state your comment.
Everything is clear? No question. So anybody can give us one meaning of oppression in the realm of religion, in the realm of science, in the realm of sociology and psychology. Then I know that you really have fathomed the concept of oppression. Give me one example of oppression when it comes in religion. What? For John, go for it.
Mr. Riazati, to be honest with you, I didn't understand any. So I'm just listening.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, because it was my English. So these words is hard for me to understand. But I'm just listening to find out.
You're kind, Hutan?
Yes. I think a greatest definition that Baha'u'lláh offers is F29, where he says, oppression, what oppression is more grievous than that is soul seeking the truth and wishing to attain unto the knowledge of God should know not where to go for it and from whom to seek it.
Excellent.
For, you know, and I think that is the primary definition that Baha'u'lláh offers in terms of what really oppression means, because it has a wide range of implication that this paragraph, it's just not religious, it's just social and knowledge and anything that you seek the truth and you don't know where to turn to.
Excellent. This is why I said for Bahá'u'lláh, oppression has a universal context.
Exactly.
So I want, in order for us to understand that this universality, let's give example of each domain that human affairs is governed to. Say, in the realm of politics, what is oppression? Here and now. Baha'is of Victorville. Let's see, who should I?
We do have a hand up. iPhone. Is that Mr. Goshani?
Yes, Dr. Riazati, don't you think the religion on its base starts with oppression, and same thing applies to government, and draws a Kafkaesque portrait?
See, so the question is this. I want everybody, we have over 50 people on board, so hopefully they are not sleeping, and they walk with us together. Oppression is when, as Bhutan mentioned, when the individual is not able to discern where to turn. That could be because of the system. It could be because of the habits. It could be because of traditional values. It could be many things. So in the religious domain, oppression, one of the meaning of it is when you forget your own mind, individual investigation of truth, and you rely on someone else to define the truths for you, and that is an oppression. And when you do not try to appreciate the true meaning of religion, which is a means, not the end, that is an oppression. Because then you sacrifice humanity for the sake of religion. That becomes oppression. You see that, Mertadam, trying to go wider, that each person might create his or her own oppression by not doing the proper investigation of truth, asking questions, distinguishing the principles, allowing himself to be governed by other people's understanding, and so forth. Give me one example of oppression, Fahima Khanum, on the realm of politics.
That would be when people are not allowed to express their thoughts and views, and they have to abide by the government that we have today, not being free of basically just being governed by lies, you know. So that would be oppression of politics.
So let's see, Philip, let's see if I can understand Fahima. So you do not suggest, Fahima Khanum, that oppression is that we should not have leaders. Rather, when the leaders try to manipulate the voters, when the leaders engage in campaign to guarantee votes through fraud, that is oppression.
Exactly. Yes,
You
said
see
it
that?
before.
How did I go about it?
Yeah.
So on one hand, Baha'u'lláh in the tablet to the kings and rulers, when the king and ruler engages in any practice to hold on to the power that is oppression. When the end justifies the means, that is oppression. Make sense?
Yeah.
Make sense? That
Yes.
is to say, when the people vote based on misinformation, that is oppression. When the people vote based on party lines, not what is best for the entire human race, that is oppression. Do you see that? How we can use the term and apply it to today's world very easily, and then you can make Íqán to be a book which has relevance in our daily lives. Make sense?
Also, when the policies are not made for welfare of everyone.
Beautiful. So this is why prejudice comes in. When racism comes in, when sexism comes in, these are all prejudice. And these are all creates oppression. Now, please go back to religion. When any doctrine of religion tries to prefer one group over another based on sex and gender, that is oppression. Make sense? When you say that because you are a Baha'i, you are chosen one, and the rest of the people are secondary people, that is oppression. So as you can see, this paragraph provides a guiding light for us to examine our own thinking about whether we are oppressed, we are oppressing people, and how do we prevent it. Make sense? Give me another meaning of oppression in social orders or economical orders. Vajan, are you awake now?
Yes, thank you. Somebody is give me the meaning of operation. I didn't know what is the operation. I was confused with the operation. So
no, operation has operation in it.
Yeah.
Because you do some operation which are oppressive.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Right. Yeah.
But
to me, the social one, when you're talking or you're explaining something and that explanation above their understanding and they cannot understand what you're saying, that's the operation for that people.
So are you suggesting that when we go above the level of the people, we are somehow oppressing them?
Yeah.
Philip, what do you say? You are shaking your head. Yes?
Nodding, I'm nodding my head. That means yes, it means I agree.
Very good, very good. Yes, Hutan.
I think probably manipulating the truth to achieve the end by any means would be a
Oppression.
of oppression.
Very good. Did you see, I started to tickle your mind that when you read these passages, you do not think it is a religious context.
No.
I have said it over and over. Kitáb-i-Íqán is not religious doctrine. It happens to have a context which is religious, but it applies to all the human affairs and in all the domains. Now let me ask another question. Naid Khanum, are you ready?
For the question?
Yes, so the
Yes,
question,
I'm ready.
the question is this. When you read something in the book, any book, but you have question about what you read, but you try to blame yourself for asking such a question. Is that oppression or not? Self-inflicted oppression. Make sense?
True, yes.
See, the Christian, when it says, okay, why is that? They say, it means, but it says, but it means. Isn't that kind of self-inflicted oppression? Because you take away human wonderness. You take away the power of imagination. You take away the power of creativity. Isn't that oppression? When you say, this is it, and maybe that is the only way that it should be. So oppression is the way that we think and how we think about the things that we think. Make sense, Flip? Fahime. That is to say, Jamal, are you with me? That is to say, how people view themselves can be oppressive. This is why one of the signs of oppression is that you are offensive or defensive or aggressive. See, how did I now bring the Íqán into the human life? When you speak, you try to subdue people. That is oppression. When you are condescending, that is oppression.
Also, when you allow abuse.
Abuse
to yourself.
Beautiful. See, now Fahime is touching. So, abuse is an oppression. Do you agree? This is why take it to higher level than religion only. So how do you take away oppression is another thing that Bahá'u'lláh tries to intervene. So if a person individually is oppressed, how do you help him, Shirin Khanam? Shirin Khanam is sleepy. Say something.
Okay.
No?
No, I'm not sleeping.
Okay, I'm just joking. Don't worry. I meant Flip, not you. So,
okay. Repeat your question. How do we stop oppression?
yes, according to Bahá'u'lláh.
Okay, so we take away the abuse, the making sure everybody has knowledge, equal rights, all the things that you mentioned that is the cause of oppression. We can remove them, then we don't have oppression.
So that's good. So it seems that you found all the solution in one statement. But see, let's see, the gentleman from Victoria, the highs of Victoria, right? What do you say, young man?
Yes, I guess we speak for Mr. Riazati as a psychotherapist. We go to a psychotherapist, right, to answer our psychological questions?
No, this is the beginning of oppression. When you come to me, I just add your oppression. Why? Because you do not go to psychotherapists, you do not go to religious leaders. See, now I'm using Bahá'u'llah's terminology. In order for them to solve your problem. In fact, in 21st century, no psychotherapist has to give you the way to do it. Has to just allow you to explore your own self.
So we have to then investigate the truth ourselves.
Excellent. Now we are touching business. See, I told you the Baha'is of Victorville are all good. So oppression, depression, suppression starts when the individual loses the ability to live the life mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and otherwise. And then when the individuals are oppressed, community becomes oppressed. And when the community is oppressed, the leaders who want to take advantage, they become oppressive. Yes, Philip.
It's my understanding as Baha'is, we're supposed to seek out competent physicians, which would include psychotherapists, and also in our the traits, when we vote for people, we look for well-trained mind, recognized ability, mature experience, unquestioned loyalty, and selfless devotion.
Beautiful.
So, and accompaniment is a word that keeps coming up. We need each other. I am ignorant. I don't see my own face, but you can explain my face to me. I need support. I need input from the people around me, but I need to be able to trust those people. There are
Sure.
there are some political leaders who have no credibility. It's like a broken clock, may be factually correct twice a day, but you would never pay attention to what they're saying. You need to go someplace else to get
Sure.
reliable information.
I got it. See, I again want you to refer to Iran. He says there are some people, whether psychotherapists, whether a doctor, whether clergy, whether politician, I quote, he says the only thing is this is just a position for making money. آبی برای نان یافتن. They actually have opened up this as a way to enrich their own self. Do you see that? Baha'u'lláh, when he says, go to this, go to that, that doesn't mean you lose your own ability to think and to discern.
When I go to the dentist, I recognize I have a capable dentist, and I put a lot of weight into what she tells me.
Sure, you take a lot of weight onto what he or she recommends, but you make your own decision.
I've chosen my dentist over. I left one dentist and went to another
Good,
dentist.
good. So that's a very good thing that you did. So can you now give me a question, give me a domain on a social science or a real science? Say, right now, I give you an example. Is homosexuality, is it genetic, it is environmental, or it is based on the volition? See, I use now another one. How do you do it? Based on research, analysis, truth, facts, or each person based on his own doctrine tries to form an opinion? You see how the oppression starts there. When the evidences will replace themselves with doctrine, that is an oppression. Makes sense? See, I gave you, I think, enough for you to actually realize that Baha'u'lláh in these paragraphs, which I highly recommend you read it over and over, he says when there is deception in any operation, whether religious or otherwise, there is a possibility of oppression. This is why he says, when you have your objective is to just govern, ریاست را نهایت وصول به مطلوب دانستن. You do all the good things, but your aim is not to govern for the sake of people. Your aim is simply to govern. Operation is when you operate based on Machiavellian, the prince.
Excuse me, what page is it?
I go with paragraph. So we started with 28, and then we are actually go down to see how 28, 29, I'm in 29.
Okay.
Almost 29. But 28 is very powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Read them over and
28.
over. Makes sense. When your objective is to govern, but the means that you govern and the process that you govern is deceptive. When you say to yourself, I want to get to the result no matter what, that is deception, that is oppression. This is beautiful. Then he says, you go and say, when somebody gets away from contentment, I'm again on paragraph 28. He says, rather than contentment and submission to the will of God, God means the universal force, and then they instead, they try to engage into deceptive practices, and then they try to hold on to that power with all means, because they do not want anything to undermine their power. He says that is oppression. That is beautiful, isn't it, Jamal?
Sorry, Dr. Riazati, I cannot find this area on the 28. Would you please help me to find it where you are reading?
I am reading. Let's see. Let me get my English section. Mr. Farshad, did you send them the parallel translation?
I didn't receive anything from you.
I already have sent it to you, but that's okay.
No, I have the original one that it was sent to me a while back, and I printed the
See,
whole.
I read in English, pay attention to it. He says, I start, because paragraph 28 is very important, and all the points that I made is outlined here. I read it, you just pay attention to it. He says, they refer to the time when men shall become oppressed and afflicted. The time when the lingering traces of Son of Truth and the fruit of the tree of knowledge and wisdom will have vanished from the midst of men. He's defining oppression. When the reins of mankind will have fallen into the grasp of the foolish and ignorant. Do you see that, Mr. Mehrdad? When the portals of divine unity and understanding, the essential and highest purpose in creation, will have been closed, when certain knowledge will have given way to idle fancy, and corruption will have erupted the station of righteousness. Such a condition as this is witnessed in this day, when the reins of every community have fallen into the grasp of foolish leaders who lead after their own whims and desires. On their tongue, the mention of God had become an empty name. In their midst, his holy word a dead letter. Do you see that, ladies and gentlemen? when craftiness takes over. Such is the sway of their desires, that the lamp of conscience and reason had been quenched in their hearts. And this, although the fingers of divine power have unlocked the portals of knowledge, and continues on. So do you see that, Mirza, that there is nothing more oppressive when the people cannot see things, and also leaders, they use their position in order to quiet people, to suppress them. You see that can happen in any system, whether it is in religion, whether it is in politics, and all the avenues. It can happen in a corporate world, and so forth. So now, any other question? This is a very important topic, isn't it? Whether I'm oppressed in my life or I'm not. Baha'u'lláh actually gives you a good heads up to ask these questions, that whether we are really oppressed, when we do not know where to turn, when we do not have enough knowledge to decide, when we have to follow our forefathers, when we do not have a courage to do the right thing. Isn't that oppression? When you see that? Any question, Philip?
I have one.
Yes.
One comment.
Ladies go first. Bahima go.
As you were talking, I was thinking one of the most important things to remember is that we have to know ourselves. Once we understand ourselves, then we know that others can't permeate inside of us. We have boundaries, and we won't allow others to oppress us individually. And if you take that further, same goes with politically or socially. We have to learn ourselves and have respect for ourselves. That's why Baha'u'lláh says you have to learn to understand and know yourself first.
Beautiful. Do you see how did now she actually brought the role of individual in creating oppression or preventing oppression? When you do boundary violations, that creates oppression or could lead to oppression. When you do easy familiarity, so it is the way that you think can create oppression. When you adapt yourself to the laws and ordinances that separates one group over another group is oppression. Philip?
I was thinking one form of oppression might be people, political leaders, making statements, but not giving background, not basing it on thoughtful analysis, just making statements.
Beautiful. Yeah. But see, because I know there are non-Baha'is on this team, over 50 people here, I do not assume that everybody is a Baha'i. It is not really fair to say this is only happening in politics. It can happen in every domain.
Right, but that was
religion or politics. We have to be mindful of the processes that are followed in everything that we do to make sure oppression is not there. This is why in the Bahá'í Faith, for instance, everything has to be crystal clear in terms of objective and most importantly, how you get there. This is why National Special Assembly at the end of the year discloses everything that that institution does. Where does this money that we pay goes? How is it spent? See, the process is very important. But if somebody comes in a church or in another venue, says, you just pay, don't worry about it. We take care of it. That is oppression. When you ask for an accountability and you don't get it, that is oppression. When they do not value your ideas, that is oppression. Make sense? This is why the House of Justice, in various letters, Individual Rights and Freedom, expresses that what is the scope of individual, what is the scope of community involvement, and most importantly, what are the roles of institution. When these three do not work together, it gives its way to oppression, because somebody guaranteed will be suppressed. Make sense? Any other question before I go to the next thing? What time is it, Mr. Parsha?
8:15.
8:15, not that bad, 45 minutes. Payman, why you do not talk? Payman Khan, everything is clear.
Beautiful. My only comment is,
Dr. Riazati,
Yes.
can you tell us how we work with oppression personally, how to go against it, how do we improve it, or whatever?
Okay.
What's our individual role?
Okay, Paymanjan, you were also, but ladies were always first. This is why
I
she
didn't
talked.
hear anybody else. I'm sorry. I was.
Well, no, it's okay. Good.
it's okay, go ahead. Just going back to what you were saying, I think it really doesn't matter Baha'i or not Baha'i. We have to be very careful also in our own religion that not to be oppressed in a way, and be open, ask questions, because a lot of dear Baha'is, they think that whatever they are told, they should just follow, but we have to really ask questions. Yeah. Use that ability of investigating after the truth. This is yes. the I mean, beautiful religion that we have, and you know, the Bab has asked us, this is a religion about questions. We have to teach our children and you to ask questions. We can't just follow whatever it comes. It doesn't matter if it comes from a National Assembly. I think we have to ask questions, not to criticize, but we have to have this critical mind to ask questions. So this is my really demand from all the youth and friends. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. See, beautiful. Mr. Hutan, don't get mad, but Mr. Payman said he is not saying criticize. Criticize has to have some kind of psychological attention that you have to give. We do not criticize anything, but we are a critical thinkers. Do you see the difference? Yeah. Think critically, but don't criticize.
Very good.
Think, do you see the difference? When you criticize, you oppress yourself and others. But when you think critically, you actually prevent oppression. So what Payman is saying is very clear. No matter who tells you what, you have a right to think on your own. And if you do not understand any aspects of it, ask questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, you mentioned to not criticize, but maybe what if you're saying something that you feel is the truth, and to the here they might feel like it's a criticism.
See, Julia, don't worry about what Habib thinks about what you say. When you talk, you have your intention, which is pure. You use the principles of unity, and you have the objectives that Bahá'u'lláh has given us, which is freedom of expression, but at the same time, unity in diversity. And don't mind if some people are actually getting mad or sad. It is not really that important, because if your aim is good, then your intention is pure. And when you speak your question, you use wisdom. By wisdom means consider the capacity of the people that they are there. Do you see that?
Okay.
Capacity is very important. The background
Yes.
of the people, and all these things, when they are combined, you then raise your question. You should not be deceptive. You should not say things that you do not mean it, because only other people get happy or get sad. You raise the question with humility, but with integrity. Do you see all these things? So if somebody gets given a message from the house, the highest institution of the Bahá'í Faith, you always have a right to ask questions. You can ask questions yourself directly from the House of Justice. You can ask through the local and National Assembly. This is your right. By criticism, ladies and gentlemen, means when you really do not have all the facts and you emotionally just make a statement.
Okay.
Do you see that? When emotionally you are swayed over this way or that way. But if you have all the data, you have all of your principles, then there are some questions, why shouldn't you ask? Make sense? Ayman Khan?
Yes. Thank you.
Hey. Bhutan Khan?
Yes. Small comment.
Yes.
I think in the faith we have the full freedom to think and decide and sort of come to conclusions personally. But when it goes beyond that and you try to impose your own opinion on others, that's another type of oppression.
Excellent.
That we should avoid. And particularly when there are clear answers and clear frame of mind offered by Baha'u'lláh, Abdul Baha, or the Guardian, then we cannot just step over that line.
Sure.
You understand?
This is what I meant by when you talk, consider all the principles.
Yeah.
And consider all the virtues, and then ask yourself, what is the intention of that question?
Exactly. And
do you see that? See, I am trying to, on one hand, encourage freedom of expression, freedom of thinking, but remember these ordinances of Abdul Baha. We are free to think, but when it comes to action, we need to consider some principles.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Not everything that the man knows can be disclosed. Not everything which is disclosed is timely. Not everything which is timely can be beneficial to the hearer. You need to tell your question in a way that does not make the cause of order to become the means of disorder. This is why critical thinking is not only questioning, is to learn how to think critically. Make sense?
Yeah.
Not to be critical of others, rather to be critical of your own thinking. And always value yourself based on the principles that are in the Baha'i Faith. Because you have accepted this principle out of volition, not oppression. Do you see that? This is why the people who have accepted the Baha'i Faith on their own, they have easier way to ask questions without being oppressed. But those people who just happen to be born into the Baha'i Faith, they really don't know most of the fundamentals, and therefore their questioning might be premature. Makes sense?
Mr. Riazati,
Yes, where
I
are you?
just had, actually this morning I had the same discussion with one of the scholars, and friends, they mistake sometimes critical thinking and questioning with undermining. So this is a problem a lot of friends they have when we go to the meetings, even our assemblies. They say, oh, no, this is what Haas has said, so we can't question anymore. But they're afraid of undermining. So these are the words I think we have to be mindful of.
See, you are talking to the scholars. I'm just an ordinary guy sitting here. But look at again, I highly recommend read chapter 28 over and over. If you are married, see, I know I'm trying to create trouble for you. If you're married, look at your personal life. See if you actually do not have some oppressive procedures. If you are assembly member, ask yourself whether the way that you consult, you are not really creating oppressive agenda. See, Payman, you are completely correct. Questioning is different from undermining. Questioning is, I do not understand. Help me out to understand it. But if you say something, and Hutan, because Hutan is a real Baha'i 5.0, but Hutan comes and says, what type of question is that? You as a Baha'i should not ask such a question. That is oppression. Why? Because you stood in front of somebody else's growth and maturity. And then the person who asked the question has become marginalized. After a while, when he's always marginalized, when you want to now vote for the members of assembly, you say, oh, don't vote for Farshad or Payman. These are always asking questions that the people start thinking. And we do not want anybody who thinks. We want the people who just say, Allah Hafa, whatever you say, God be with you. But that is an oppression. This is by Bahá'u'lláh, Abdul Baha. They say institutions are always mature. The point is, are the individuals get mature? As we individually mature, then collectively we become mature. When collectively we become mature, our representative become mature. Then the problem that are outlined in 28 will not take place. This is why, if you want to understand paragraph 28 inside the Baha'i Faith, I actually highly recommend that read the bold order of Bahá'u'lláh, the 7 letters. When Shoghi Effendi tries to say how the institutions in the Baha'i Faith could try to prevent oppression, and they themselves do not become oppressive. In fact, which is on 28, which Shoghi Effendi repeats, he says institutions are the means, not the end. This is critically important if you want to understand this. That means you do not die for the institution. Institution and individual and community work together to prevent oppression on the individual level, community level, and society level. Make sense? Did you see how we combined all of it? Would you ever think that I take oppression to those realms? But do it. Now, another thing which is very, very important. Any question before I go forward? Yes, Sultan. You didn't pay enough money, so do not ask that much question. I have to charge you.
Yeah,
So
okay. The only thing is that if there is a fine line between questioning and then questioning based on personal interpretation. So if we need to be very careful that we are allowed to do personal interpretations of the writings, but once we start sort of questioning things with the aim of promoting our own interpretation, then we are going to have problems.
See, Bhutan, you are the master of explanation. See, this is Baha'i Faith 101 now. Anybody who is in this group, they know there is a principle called unity in diversity, right? Everybody likes that. Diversity simply means two seeds are not the same. Two minds do not think the same way. Depending on your background, you see the world according to your background. Nobody look at the same thing the same way.
I agree.
No one person looks at the same thing twice. Please pay attention very carefully. We think this is really a very difficult concept. Some basics, fundamentals have to be understood. Nobody really has a static understanding of anything. Do you remember Abul Fazail Golpaigani, Fahim Khanum? Abul Fazail is famous, and he is one of the finest scholars, right, Mr. Payman? When Abdul Wahab Abbas is asked, give us a good example of a scholarship, he says, Mr. Abul Faz.
Absolutely.
Right? And Mr. Abul Faz, he was also reading Íqán, like you and I was reading it, right? But it's important that he said each time that I read it, I understood different things. Now you tell me, how could such a man come and say my understanding of Íqán at any given time supersedes other understanding, when his own understanding was subject to change based on his growth mentally, emotionally, and biologically, and his experience? You see, between these These are a very complex religious concept. These are very natural. No two people are the same. So everybody's opinion has a validation. As long as that person's view should not govern all the context.
I agree.
You see what happened. This is why Abdul Baha Abbas, Mr. Ford, you know Abdul Baha Abbas. Abdul Baha Abbas, when they ask him, tell us, what does Adam and Eve mean? He says, Adam means this, Eve means that. He says, this is this, this is that. But the last line of the explanation, he says, hey, Habibullah, this is one of the meanings of Adam and Eve. You go and think, you may find other meanings. Wow. So now somebody comes to you, Hutan, and says, what Adam and Eve means. You give an explanation, and then Fahima gives another explanation. That Sleepy Ford gives another explanation. That Mr. Jahed, who is daydreaming, gives another explanation. Abdul Baha says, good, as long as your explanation is worthy of attention in terms of unification of hearts. But if somebody asks you, excuse me, Hutan, where does the Baha'i Faith stands on this issue? You say, do you know what? I am not the Baha'i Faith, first of all. I do not know of anyone who is a Baha'i Faith, but I only know that there is an interpreter whose words has to be accepted as a common unifying interpretation. Did you see? Unity, diversity. But if somebody comes and says, I don't care about some people's view, what Abdul Baha said, that is all it means. Well, I know you love Abdul Baha, but keep your love to yourself, because if you love Abdul Baha, you respect Abdul Baha, and in the last line, he says, you go and think, and you find your own meaning also. Because Abdul Baha doesn't want to create suppressive order. Abdul Baha wants you to think on your own also. Abdul Baha knows very well that anyway, Adam and Eve is a symbolic term, and you can give 1,000 meanings, because in reality, there was no Adam nor Eve. This is only a narrative creation myth which was relevant among Jews. Do you see that? When you consider all these, yes, when you hold on to your interpretation, you can create oppression. Make sense? Okay. Oh, any other question? Nothing? Who else are on the scene that I pick on them? Let's see.
Excuse me, Farshad Jan, I see some people put their raised hand up, but probably you don't see them. So I know you ask, if somebody asks a question, open your mic and ask a question. So just a reminder, I'm sorry.
So who are that? Somebody speaks up. Let's see.
Yeah, my name is Bijan. The
Yes,
question,
Bijan.
yeah, the question I have, it looks that, for sure, it looks like that in the Baha'i Faith, we have solutions for every problem. Now, when we go to the outside society, is the revolution is an answer to the oppressions in every country or every political system? How they should solve that problem?
Okay, let's see. Let me pick up on some people. Lillian, welcome. What do you think? Lillian the Great. No. Okay, let's see. Mehrdad Nosrat, what do you think? No? These people are sleepy. Jalil, what do you think? Does Baha'i Faith has the answer to all the problems of the world? Saeed Atai.
I have an idea.
Sure, who are you?
I'm Christian, right next to you there.
Okay, my friend Christian, tell me. I'm a Jew, tell me.
Okay. The Baha'i Faith, everybody will have different ideas. I like that idea. Everybody will have a different idea when everybody is able to talk about it and share their ideas. So the Baha'i Faith, if it doesn't have the exact answer, which it doesn't have for everything, questions are innumerable, but the people who are able to talk and communicate and do it in a unified way will come up with the solutions.
Beautiful.
My thinking.
Okay, now see, let's see. Is it right to say Baha'i Faith, if somebody asks you, okay, what is the answer for this problem? You say, okay, let's see, I have my jukebox, it says Baha'i Faith. I go into the jukebox and say, this is the answer. If that was the case, right now the people of the world were much better off. But could we say Baha'i Faith provides principles for humanity to use those principles in order to find answers? Which one is more realistic? Nilufar Siraj, what do you think? No? Okay. Mr. Taqdiri, Kamran. You do not unmute them, Mr. Farsha. Anybody? Anahita? Kamran?
I'm here.
Okay, does the Baha'i Faith has all the answer to every problem that I have, or Baha'i Faith has the principles and objectives, and then through those objectives, goals, principles, I as a human come and develop a strategy to resolve the conflicts of any sort? Which one is it?
Second one.
The second one.
Second one.
Makes sense, because if somebody, Jalil, are you here?
I think he's mute.
Jalil, why you do not talk?
I'm here.
Okay, so see, I actually here now offered you how to get away from oppression. Baha'i Faith has the answer to everything. Oh, really? Isn't that a very oppressive statement? Or another way, Baha'i Faith welcomes every human thought using the principle of cooperation, using the scientists to do also consultation, compassion. We go together and find some kind of response to the conflicts at hand. Which one is the true Baha'i Faith? The second one, right?
That's correct.
Because you are inviting others also. Baha'is, the House of Justice, over and over says the problems of the world needs the people of the world to resolve them, not only Baha'is. Make sense? So if we say that Baha'i Faith offers a vision for humanity, yes. If we say Baha'i Faith offers some guiding principles, yes. But Baha'i Faith has a cookie jar answer to everything? Absolutely not. Go to your assembly, most of your assembly members. Doesn't Bahá'u'lláh says, just when the problems comes to you, first find the principle. Isn't that Kamran Khan? Yes?
That's true, absolutely.
And then gather data. And then consult experts. All of this thing goes in hand, and you may come to some kind of resolution, but that resolution may be changed based on the new inputs and the new level of maturity. So what Baha'i Faith offers is that the vision is clear. The vision is, in your consultation, you shouldn't adopt any policy that tries to decide based on group, based on gender, and creates division among mankind. So it has principles. It does not have necessarily a solution. Solution comes from humanity who applies those principles. According to Abdul Baha Abbas, in Secret of Divine Civilization, solution comes when the individual become more mature. Make sense?
I have a comment to make. I'm thinking we are an ever-changing, ever-advancing society. And so if we always say that we have all the solutions, but we are advancing, then we become stagnated. And when we have a stagnation, we have oppression.
Beautiful. Fahima Khanum, you're up. I thought you were sleeping. Very good.
I'm
so
listening to you.
See then, did you see how did I took oppression to different levels? When you think that you have the solution, you are opening the gateway for oppression. But if you say, for here and now, maybe what I am adopting as a resolution might be most fitted answer for the problem on hand. But tomorrow things may change, context may change. I cannot hold on to the same solution of the past. In fact, don't tell anybody. One reason that finality of religion by the peoples of the past, Khatamiyat, the seal of the prophet, is not beneficial because they think that one solution can go throughout the ages. And this is why Baha'i Faith believes in continuity, and depend on the continuity, you have two principles that prevent suppression in the Baha'i Faith: integrity and flexibility. Integrity is governed by Baha'i writings offered by Bab, Bahá'u'lláh, Abdul Baha, and Shoghi Effendi. Flexibility arm is the universal laws of justice. It is the house that, based on the requirement of the age, tries to determine whether those principles that Bahá'u'lláh and other main figures have brought is applicable in this context or not. Do you see that? Oppression needs both integrity and flexibility. That was a very good discussion. Any other? Let's see. Parveen Khanum, no question, huh?
Hutan has something to say.
Utan,
Sorry, I bogged in too much, but I think the question was whether we can respond to oppression by revolution. Wasn't that the question?
you became very political now.
No. I think I heard that.
No, you're right. You're right. The question was that.
The question was that. So I think
Revolution, see, Abdul Wahab Abbas has a good explanation. Etisab, etiraz. You can always have revolution, but revolution has to follow the guiding principle. Please pay attention to how I say it, that after you leave, you do not try to scratch your head and say what Habib said, oh God. See, what does revolution mean? Means rising against the orthodoxy or practices which you feel are oppressive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Abdul Baha, Baha'u'lláh, they say, yes, we rise against it, but we use the means that are humanistic, have integrity. How do you do it? I give you an example by Baha'u'lláh himself. Baha'u'lláh, in the tablet to the kings and rulers, he says, you can change the orthodoxy, oppressive rules by changing the heart of people, changing the way the people think. For Baha'u'lláh, change, permanent change, sustainable change comes from grassroots. It does not start from the top. You see the revolution? That is to say, through principles, through actions that are not violating principles, we undermine oppression. This is why Baha'u'lláh, in the Lawh-e-Ittihad, Tablet of Unity, he does not allow any cooperation. By cooperation means that some of us come together and tell Fariba, you are a leader, we want to follow you, please let's go and undermine Saeed, who is oppressive. This is not acceptable in the Baha'i Faith, because then we become Machiavellian. By Machiavellian, I am referring to the book called Prince, where it says, end justifies the means. If you want to remove oppression, you can engage on some unethical behavior. Baha'u'lláh says absolutely not. So revolution has to be gradual and fundamental through the change of heart and mind. Please pay attention. Please do not misquote me. Bob was one of the finest revolutionary figure in human history. Through his thinking, his principle undermined the orthodoxy, whether religious or political. He did not himself violate any kind of ethical rules. Make sense, or I should go further? Make sense?
I think Baha'u'lláh has a principle that they refer to as the removal of the law of the soul.
See, again, that means we do not engage on aggression.
Exactly.
Because aggression is a source of oppression. See, think now largely about this concept. You need to respond, not react. The people, see, now I am becoming psychotherapist. When you react, you oppress yourself and others. When you react, you actually lose your objectivity. When you react, you become aggressive. But if you are assertive, if you think it through, if you look at the principle of operation, then you do not engage into aggression. So as you can see, revolution is a very good term, but is tied to revelation. Use the principle of your revelation to create a spiritual, material, economical revolution. Make sense? See, I didn't say anything which violates anything. You have to understand, Baha'i Faith is about revolution. Don't go and just use that statement and then get me into trouble. Baha'i Faith is a revolution. Baha'i Faith wants to change how the people think. Baha'i Faith wants to enable people to think on their own. Isn't that really why they are being killed in Iran? Why do you think different governments, they do not like the way that Baha'is operate? Baha'is are like any other person. They are not against Baha'is. They are against the way that the Baha'is are thinking. What is wrong? The Baha'is thinking undermines how they have perceived power to be. So Baha'is, through teaching, through compassion, through sacrifice, they undermine the orthodoxy. And that is the finest revolution which is connected to revelation. So maybe, Utan, we need to create a new term. Revolution through revelation. Makes sense?
You could write a book on that.
You have to write a book on that, and Parshad is working on it. Now, but see, think about it. We, most of the times, the reason that our revolution doesn't yield answer is because we are using the old dogmas. We are still using the old gimmick. We have to use the ways that Bahá'u'lláh operated. Bahá'u'lláh has not come here to undermine any king and any ruler. Bahá'u'lláh has come to make those rulers to become the source of preventing aggression and oppression. Now, the same thing applies to any institution, whether you are in a corporate board, whether you are in a religious board. See, I am trying to help us not to say, they do it, we don't do it, we are so good, we are all good, and the rest of the people are all bad. That is an oppressive statement. That is an oppression. But if you say, we also are learning, we also are having failure, doesn't the House of Justice says, culture of learning, doesn't he say that message, Bad Sleepy? That we are all learning. When you are learning, that means all of us are engaged in the same process of going against oppression. And if you call that revolution, God be with you. What else?
Okay, Mr. Golshani has been waiting. Go ahead.
You are looking at all the hands or not, Mr. Jahid?
I can see only one hand up from Mr. Ghoshani right now.
Yeah,
Because Anahita had some question. She sent it to me and said, Mr. Jahid doesn't pick up my question. Anahita, you are next. Go ahead, Mr. Gulshani.
Well, what you just stated makes sense, but does that make it practical? In our universe or in this world, I don't think that's practical. I mean,
it is not practical if it only stays on the realm of principle. See, I am very frank with you. It has to start from the community called Bahá'í Faith. Bahá'í Faith is the one that has to show that these principles against aggression, against oppression works. How do we know it works? In our individual life, in relation to each other. How we talk, how we express our feelings. If we are a member of an institution, how do we differ from other systems? Because eventually, all these things comes to light. Don't think you can hide in darkness. We all are responsible before Baha'u'lláh. Baha'u'llah's revelation, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't have 6 million followers. Get it right. Everyone who lives on the face of the planet is potentially a believer, or maybe a believer better than Habib Riazati. Simply because my name is a Baha'i, that doesn't make me a Baha'i. So you have to change your concept that we are a community of Baha'i faith. No, we are a part of the greater community that lives with the same principle that Baha'u'lláh has brought over 100 years ago. This way of thinking changes how we operate. The assembly of the Baha'i faith should operate, consult, treat its members differently than a corporate committee does, a church does. Otherwise, how do you distinguish them? Otherwise, why Shoghi Effendi warns against corruption? But how do you prevent these corruptions? By individual, community, and institution to become responsible. Responsible in their scope of practice. We need to be accountable for our deeds. When the people come to the Baha'i institution, they are not coming to 9 members, ladies and gentlemen. They are coming to Baha'u'lláh. They are coming to Abdul Baha. If they knock your door, they are not knocking 9 people's door. They can find maybe billion groups of the 9 people, but they have come to you. They have come to you because they have put their trust in Abdul Baha Abbas, who has come to prevent oppression. Oppression can be soft, oppression can be hard. Sometimes through a word you can oppress people. Sometimes when you feel a person to become cornered, to become quiet, when you use some of the laws of the Baha'i faith to quiet someone from his freedom of expression, that is oppression. This is why, Mirtajan, Baha'u'lláh system works. by Baha'u'lláh himself. If I personally didn't believe it works, I would not have stayed in any organized religion, because any organized religion that I have met so far has met all the qualities in verse 28. This is why the people are fed up from organized religion, because of what Baha'u'lláh explains on paragraph 28 under oppression. See, I am inviting you to read this chapter, this paragraph, over and over and apply it. If you are a member of assembly, go to that assembly and ask yourself, forget about others, 8 members, ask yourself, how I think, how I operate, how I came to the conclusion, really was what Baha'u'lláh wanted to defeat oppression or suppression? Should I use fear tactic, or I have to install in the heart of the person who has come to me for help love, unity, enabling him or her? This is the way that Baha'i Faith stands, Mirza John. Otherwise, I have a news for you. Baha'u'lláh knew all these things. Original goes like this. I translate to the best of my ability. Dar qawl fakhr alaman, dar amal nang umam. He says, when it comes to professing ideals, they portray themselves as the honor of the world. But when it comes to their practice, they are the most abject of the people of the world. Baha'u'lláh is very realistic. Baha'u'llah's revelation does not allow people to misuse it. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, 20,000 believers in the last 40 years, hundreds, thousands upon thousands believers suffered. They suffered because they had a revolution against oppression through following the principles of revelation. So if you are an administrator in the Baha'i Faith, get it right. You cannot oppress people. There is no way you can win. You may win the small wars, but you lose the main war. And Baha'u'lláh protects his own religion. And I also have an admonition for the people who feel oppression. Try to rely on the principle of the Baha'i Faith. Try to enact them on your life. And always remember, light always shines. But don't allow yourself to become a part of darkness, because then you oppress people. And that is where, rather than asking questions, you start criticizing. You are, rather than helping, you try to undermine it. Make sense, Mr. Mirdad? Next question. What was it, Farshad?
Thank you.
Of course. There was another question.
I don't see anything here. Fahima, did you have something to say?
No.
Anaita,
Okay.
what happened to you?
Hi, I'm here. I'm listening. I had a question. In your previous statements, you spoke of ethical rules, or basically principles. Do you believe that ethical rules are subject to change?
Well, there are principles, there are laws and our ethics. And this is very important distinction. Principles in the Baha'i Faith are very, very straightforward. Everything that we do in the Baha'i Faith is aiming at the unity of humankind. That is a principle. Anything that has been revealed has to go to that end. Rules and ethics are only governing human behaviors, Anita, towards that objective. But within that process, individual and community rights has to be preserved. Individual cannot be abused because we want to hold on to the community well-being. Because community is made up individuals. So, ethics change or the application of the principle, which we call ethics, change. Say, I as a psychotherapist, there is an ethics and there is a law. I cannot offer psychotherapy to a friend if and only if I see that person within the psychotherapy context. But if that person is not my client, I can give any advice. You see that? But if I have, let's say I pick up somebody that I love, Hutan. Hutan has a contract with me and is my client. Then Hutan invites me to a party. I have to think twice because there is a law, dual relationship. Tomorrow, Hutan has a sister. He says, Habibullah, assume I'm not married. He says, Habibullah, I have a sister. Would you like to come meet my sister?
Don't go there. Don't go there.
And then a state of California says, go and get married with her sister, but you jeopardize your license. Why? Because he is my client in a psychotherapy context. Makes sense. Majority of the people do not understand this. So, Anita, laws and ethics has to be determined based on the context that you are operating. But no matter what the context, principles should not be oppressive. So principles are constant, relatively speaking, but how it is applied to a certain context differs. And based on that differentiation, you actually have different laws and different ethics. Make sense, Anita?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm here. I was on mute.
Okay.
Thank
How
you.
many more hours do we have, Mr. Parshad?
It is now 9:15, so if you want to take a few minutes to wrap up this session, please go ahead.
Any questions, though? Do you know, that was a good topic, Hutan. Oppression. See, where did we go? After this session is over, if I were you, whether you are Shirin, you're Faramaz, Kamran, ask yourself, am I being oppressed? Am I oppressing somebody else? Am I oppressing my own self and I don't know it? How do I respond to the oppression that I receive from my fellow co-worker, from my husband, from my brother? Because all of them are outlined on paragraph 28. Can you believe it, Fahime? You read paragraph 28 and all of this thing comes up. That is one thing that gives me joy about the Baha'i Faith. Whatever I read, I want to say, how is it relevant to here and now? If it doesn't have a relevance, you are actually, don't tell anybody, but you are telling yourself that this paragraph is outdated. And then you have to ask Bahá'u'lláh, why did he put it in Íqán? Context may be different, but content is universal. You then also ask yourself, in your behavioral pattern towards somebody else, are you oppressive? In your teaching campaign, do you remember when you go and teach people, do you feel you have the solution? And then you knock your neighbor's home? You really knock your neighbor's home because you really care for your neighbor, or because you want to add to the enrollment number? You see how your motive can impact oppression, suppression? Do you actually, I actually had a case, I went and knocked my neighbor's home, and then they said, okay, what's up? Which one should I say? I say, well, I just felt to knock your door, which was kind of a lie, and then which is a kind of oppression if it is a lie. Or I could say, well, because, you know, I really don't care about you, really. I just got a guidance from the Universal House of Justice and said, go and knock the door of your neighbor. Don't you think that could create a context of oppression? Let me see. You like me as your neighbor, or you only came here because the doctrine of your religion? Do you see how this thing has to be played about? So what do? Anything that the house tells you. See, this is what Payman was saying. Why they say that? They want us to become more responsible for human relationship, or they want us to go and make them Baha'is and add to the numbers, because if we are 6 million, we make it 7 million is better. See, your way of thinking about these ordinances of the house can create oppression if you do not think humanistically. Make sense? So what I suggest at the last statement, if you want, I actually can give you a homework. Write down, if you want, I don't know, I don't want suddenly 52 people turn to 5 people. I give you a homework for your own sake. From now until next week, read this paragraph every day. And then every subsequent day, examine your behavior from the morning until eve and ask yourself whether your behavior eliminated oppression, suppression, or you actually were the part of it and you even didn't know it. Because it is always easy to say they are oppressive, they are suppressive, but you never see how you act or react. That will be my homework to you. Any last comment? Yes, Shiri Khanum.
Can you please send us the link that we can compare the paragraph and find them?
I will make sure Mr. Farshad has it. Farshad John, do you have everybody on the list? You have their email or not?
The people who are getting an announcement directly from Bahá'íAnnounce@gmail.com, I have their email.
How about in the chat list, you give your email to Mr. Farshad, then they go, Lillian, are you online? Lillian John. Okay, maybe she is not online or she is on mute.
Sorry, yes, I am online. I'm listening.
Okay,
I was
Lillian John, can you kindly send Farshad that section of Ocean of Light parallel translation where Íqán has been matched between Arabic paragraphs and English?
Sure.
Okay, so Lillian did it, Shirin. You got it.
She's sending it?
Yeah, she is sending it to Farshad or to, I think, how should we do this, Lillian?
Please send it to Bahá'íAnnounce@gmail.com and I will distribute to the list.
Okay, and Lillian John, can you give the URL of that offhand? Can you look it up? Lillian is looking, don't worry.
I'm sorry, Bahá'íAnnounce@gmail.com, right?
And,
yes.
Correct.
And Lillian John, are you by your computer?
Yes.
Can you look at parallel translation on the oceanoflights.org?
Oceanoflight.org.
Go to the Farsi section.
Right.
And then go down to ترجمه های موازی و هماهنگ, parallel translations. And there should be ایقان, one of them. That link, if you can copy paste to the chat section, everybody will have it. See, Lillian came, I gave him a homework.
I can't find the one you were saying, but both of them, I'll find and I'll send it to them. No problem.
Okay, very good. But see, dear friends, oceanoflights.org. That is a URL. Enable yourself, go and find it. It is English and Persian, but go to the Persian section. Look at the right-hand side menu, go down. It says ترجمه های هماهنگ و موازی, the parallel translation. You go into that menu, you see Kitáb-i-Íqán, right-hand side, Persian